Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and I've got 3 stories for you in this latest Moon Lambo hot jam. And I'll start with this one from Crypto Newsflash. Vitalik Buterin warns that cryptocurrencies are in a bubble and Bitcoin may get left behind. Now this is always fascinating to me, seeing what different people think is actually going on in terms of bubble formation. What do they think is the cause of market pullback, stuff like this? And it's interesting that for instance, Vitalik Buterin, having created Ethereum, the guy is a genius, right? But my God, he's wrong about why he thinks the market is doing what it's doing. Like, he is just dead wrong, and it's just fascinating because, like, the stuff that he's saying, if applied specifically to what's happening with XRP, it's just like brain explode. It don't make no damn sense. Here's a headline from you today. Key highlights from Ripple's latest discovery conference with SEC. And so, go figure, the SEC lawyers seem to be a bit overly confident and have stated that it's game over for Ripple and XRP if one particular criteria is met, which I'll be sharing with you in this video. And then I have this story, which is crypto, but it's a crypto story, but unrelated to Ripple and XRP, which is why I'm going to save it for last, but interesting nonetheless. I think you'll enjoy this one. Here's the headline from the Daily Hodl. Crypto lending platform accidentally sends users millions of dollars in Bitcoin. Oh. Okay, somebody's getting fired. Like, somebody actually by now has to have happened. Somebody has to have been fired. Like, this, you're having a bad day if you accidentally send millions of dollars in Bitcoin to someone. Just wait till you hear. But I do want to be clear at the outset, I don't have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice, and you should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. Although in this case, I actually am going to share with you opinions from 2 attorneys who happen to be members of the XRP community. That would be attorney John Deaton and attorney Jeremy Hogan, just XRP community members sharing their opinion about what is going on with the SEC versus Ripple case. But we'll start with this. Vitalik Buterin talking about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin getting left behind. All right, I'm interested. The 27-year-old Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin is not worried about the struggling state of the crypto market, he revealed recently, while taking a dig at Bitcoin. In an interview with CNN, he disclosed that cryptocurrencies are in a bubble. However, when the bubble finally bursts is uncertain, though it could be months away. So let's pause right there. I would agree that we are forming a bubble. I mean, yeah, you can word it like that. You can word it that we're in one. I'm not. What I really want to get at is, I'm not convinced that this bubble has completed in terms of top. Not even for Bitcoin. Now, for altcoins, almost certainly not. I mean, this would be the first time that you ever have a huge bubble like this form, and altcoins don't go off. Now, that would be truly unique, and I just don't think that humans are going to allow that to happen. I think that they're going to take profits from Bitcoin, then roll them into other coins, which they have started to do, by the way. There have been a few that have already been popping off. But then once those pop off, they'll take those out and then put those profits into other coins that haven't gone completely parabolic yet, like XRP. That's what I'm fully anticipating to happen here. And then they state here, according to Buterin, the current bubble is common in its history with at least 3 recorded so far. And so here's where I end up, I'm going to have to critique him a bit. Here's his quote. And often enough, the reason the bubbles end up stopping is that some event happens that just makes it clear that the technology isn't there yet. No, Vitalik. No, that is not what's happening. This has nothing to do with fundamentals. It has to do with people investing in something, and then they want to take profits, and then when enough people take profits out, stop losses get set off, then it cascades down, and then it freaks more people out, and then they start pulling their money out, and that's just how markets work. It's not the case that there have been several instances minimum in the past where prices have just gotten high and then, everything's flowing along all nicely here with the whole Bitcoin thing, but you know what, suddenly I'm not so sure the technology's there, but we pulled all of our money and we were really confident up until right now. No, that is not what is happening. That doesn't make a damn bit of sense. It frankly just does not. It's not about fundamentals. And so it's just, It's just human psychology. It's the same things at play with the stock market. It's like a tiny, tiny fraction of the decision-making process. It's based on fundamentals. And so maybe there are some people that are in the know. If you even talk about the stock market and a particular stock will start to go, but beyond that, it's just to follow the leader thing. It's the herd mentality. It's FOMO in when it's going up, and then panic sell when it starts to go down. That is it. And so it's mostly human psychology that dictates where prices go within the market, not fundamentals. I care about fundamentals more. And when I realized after jumping into crypto the degree to which people don't sufficiently care about fundamentals like I do, I was like, the rest of the world lost its goddamn mind. Like that is seriously what I was thinking when as soon as it really hit me. I was just like, these people, they're just behaving completely irrationally and ridiculous with their money. But hey, we're all adults by age anyway. So, do whatever you want here, but damn. And so then you start to get into utility. And then this is where it starts to get even more interesting. Now, not surprisingly, Vitalik Buterin, he did end up puffing up, to talking about how, Ethereum's hot stuff, this and that. Okay, fine, understandable. The Ethereum's your little child, got it. But there are other cryptocurrencies out there and that can supplant Bitcoin. So yes, it's as far as this idea that Bitcoin could fall behind. Well, it depends, because it goes back to this idea of like, why do humans value cryptocurrency at all? And so in a general sense, I'd say right now, people feel like there's something there. There's something there. You can do things with crypto. There are these attributes that you just don't have outside of this technology, outside of cryptocurrencies specifically existing. And so right now, because Bitcoin was the first, it's number one in terms of market cap. That's where the value is. I'm using that somewhat in quotation marks because store of value is a real thing. Like that's utility. But how does something that doesn't actually do anything else, how does it maintain store of value in perpetuity? That's the question. Will it simply be the case that because humans value the standards that are in place, that it's going to continue for the rest of time, at least as long as the internet exists, will it continue to be number one in terms of market cap? Or will there be other use cases for crypto that end up proving to be more valuable than the use case by itself of store of value? Because if that's the case, I do believe eventually price follows. So if it's with smart contracts and if Ethereum actually scales and they overcome all the hurdles and continue to get adopted, if that is more useful, more valuable to humans than store of value is, then Ethereum, sure. And I'm not saying Ethereum will be the one. I own Ethereum, so super duper if it does. But yeah, I mean, if all that magically works out, then yes, I think the price would follow. And then if those conditions are met, then yeah, you'd supplant Bitcoin in terms of market cap. And so what if the use case of XRP as a bridge currency is and any other use case that it has today? What if that all becomes more valuable than what Ethereum is offering in terms of smart contracts or Bitcoin in terms of store of value? What happens then? Could XRP supplant them? Those two? Well, humans will decide that. I don't know, and I don't know for sure that XRP would ever be number one in market cap, because I don't know what humans are going to value as the most important thing being solved utilizing a cryptocurrency. But what gets really interesting, and that's where like this idea of Bitcoin getting left behind, because I do think this could happen. And actually, even Charles Hoskinson with Cardano. He's actually cited this as well, and I've been thinking it for the longest damn time, and he recently cited, he's like, look, what happens if something becomes more valuable, and I'm paraphrasing at this point, and this is basically the way I describe it, what happens when another cryptocurrency becomes more valuable in terms of its problem solving, then the money pours into that, which means the price goes up, and then supplants Bitcoin. Like, what's going to happen to Bitcoin at that point? Because, in terms of store of value, wouldn't you have more confidence in any other cryptocurrency that is solving a real world problem? Wouldn't you, if you want to put money in something for the purpose to store value, would you put it in Bitcoin, which doesn't do anything else, or would you put it in XRP, or would you put it in if Ethereum works out, would you put it in Ethereum? What would you put it in? That's actually, would you put it in one of those things that solve the problem of Bitcoin? And so that's why I admit, I wonder, because Bitcoin has been heavily tested for 12 years, but it hasn't been tested in that environment. It hasn't been tested in an environment where utility actually matters, and that's what I've been wondering. And I don't have a firm answer, but I could certainly see it being the case potentially, where if another use case is more valuable and more money pours into it, and Bitcoin is supplanted, that could cause more attention to focus on, okay, why the hell did we have this much money in Bitcoin in the first place? Maybe. Because either that's going to happen, or because Bitcoin's the first, people decide that's enough, and then it just stays here in perpetuity. I don't know for sure. I'm just a skeptic a little bit to some degree. I don't know what that's going to look like, but it's an interesting conversation nonetheless. Now, into this next piece. Oh, man. Key highlights from Ripple's latest discovery conference with SEC. Because it's game over, guys. Did you hear it's game over? The SEC lawyer says it's game over. In his affirmative presentation here during a May 21st telephonic conference with Magistrate Judge Sarah Netburn, Jorge Tenrero, a senior trial attorney at the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, argued that Ripple's lawyers had told the company that XRP could be a currency and security at the same time. And here's a quote. This is Jorge Tenrero now, the SEC attorney. They were sophisticated players. They hired at least 12 law firms. Ripple's supposed confusion has to be tested against what it was actually being told. And so the reason that's important is, what's at play here? Well, can the SEC get its hands on opinion letters from Ripple's lawyers, which cover the topics of whether or not XRP is a security dating back to 2012? That's the question. And also, is Ripple's fair notice defense viable? Should it be? Should they be able to continue arguing that in court? And I think that's pretty clear at this point, obviously. But as far as the fair notice defense, just to make sure we're on the same page, it's this idea that Ripple's been able to continue doing what it's doing for the better part of a decade. XRPs continue to exist and just grown like crazy globally in terms of adoption, including on exchanges, various use cases. All of this stuff has happened. And Ripple's basically saying, well, how could you possibly allow this to go on for so long? Why didn't you give us fair notice that what we were doing was wrong before we ended up selling $1.3 billion worth of XRP? Why didn't you tell us sooner? And that's a legitimate legal defense, by the way. And so all of this is parts of what are being questioned here. And so, as reported by you today, the SEC is trying to compel Ripple to produce legal advice it obtained from lawyers regarding XRP status. SEC Attorney Tenrero claims that void for vagueness challenges for Howey have been rejected, while pointing out that the defendants injected their state of mind into the case. And so when they're saying void for vagueness, this idea that Howey, wouldn't necessarily cover this particular situation, as if because look, the SEC is arguing that Howey the decision was written in such a way that it was intended to be able to stretch. But if you're going to say that it can reasonably stretch to cover this particular case, especially in the way that the SEC is pushing, I guess at that point it's subjective, but damn, that seems way too far to me. Just tremendously too far. And then as far as the defendant's state of minds being at play, here's the quote: they have directly inserted their state of mind as part of their defense. And I think this is where, Jeremy Hogan, he was kind of getting at this point too, because the judge jumped in and was basically like, okay, but do you have any sort of objective legal argument, or case precedent, effectively, that you can point to that says, clearly Ripple is in the wrong. And the problem being, it comes down to it ends up being the case that it's not objective. Anything that they point to, it's actually rather just subjective. And so when asked about additional interference into the attorney-client relationships, Tenrero says it would be, quote, game over for Ripple if it chose not to follow the advice it received from lawyers. And mind you, so the advice it received from lawyers, they were really just warning. It's more about liability risks, potentially, because the fact that an attorney warned that the SEC could come at them with charges doesn't mean that they believe that it would be reasonable for the SEC to bring those charges. So I still think it doesn't follow logic. It's just not a good logical argument in my opinion. But here's a quote. If they received, and this is Tenrera again, if they received advice and they did not follow, they would lose. What if their lawyer told them, you still have to deal with the SEC? That would be game over for their defense that they were confused. We don't know what they have given the exchanges, Ripple tells us. What you were thinking is relevant. And see, to me, that still doesn't logically follow, because their argument and their defense is that the SEC didn't provide clarity. And so regardless of what their attorneys say, their attorneys are not the authority. Yeah, they were getting legal advice because they wanted to be as informed as possible, and the SEC wasn't clear. But the authority is the SEC. And so, if it doesn't matter what the lawyers say, frankly, they're just saying the SEC could perhaps in the future make a claim. That's pretty much it, right? And then they also write here, he also argues that Ripple used its legal advice to influence trading platforms with the opinions of the lawyers. So what about Ripple's response? Well, Ripple's lawyer Gregory Rapoy claims that the advice Ripple received is not the subject of the defense. And here's a quote. It doesn't matter that we believed, and we believe, that XRP is not an investment contract. It's strict liability. Our defense is fair notice, not our state of mind. Exactly, which it just is exactly in line with what I just said like 40 seconds or whatever ago. And so then attorney Jeremy Hogan, who I'm assuming most of you are familiar with at this point, he shared some of his thoughts too. And noting also that we did learn yesterday, technically, that Ripple has given the SEC 2 lawyer letters from 2012 and 2015, and the 2012 letter does warn Ripple executives that XRP might be considered a security by the SEC. Now, again, I still maintain that it can't logically matter, and also from a legal perspective, looks like this is not a good argument that the SEC is making. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, Ripple's fair notice defense effectively puts the SEC on trial. Jeremy Hogan noted, because it takes a look at what the SEC did and didn't do, and how that impacted businesses and people that it has jurisdiction over. And so the SEC is saying that Ripple did have fair notice that XRP was a security, even if they didn't get that fair notice from the SEC itself. Now, Jeremy doesn't find it likely that Ripple's fair notice defense will be thrown out. The judge asked the SEC for any objective case law that would assert their position, but there isn't any, as in it legally, literally doesn't exist. Now, here's a comment from attorney John Deaton on Twitter. Today, again, demonstrated that Ripple and XRP holders are lucky that Judge Netburn, along with Judge Torres, have been assigned this case. Judge Netburn is always prepared and understands the issues and asks insightful questions of the attorneys. Hashtag impressive judges. And then he wrote the following. I'm sure that Jeremy Hogan will sum up today's hearing in his usual near-perfect manner. My position hasn't changed. There was no real argument that Ripple shared the legal memos with third parties. Therefore, the SEC's argument is that because Ripple raised a fair notice defense, it placed its subjective and actual state of mind into evidence, and the SEC should get to see all the legal advice Ripple received in order to test or challenge that actual subjective state of mind. And so let me pause there. The argument has been made that because Ripple did share some of these memos from their attorneys with third parties, that they basically waived their attorney-client privilege there, and apparently that is actually legitimately a strong legal argument, and John seems to agree. He wrote, the SEC claims it allows the court to penetrate the privilege. The SEC says it would be unfair to not let them see the advice. The SEC attorney brought up that because she ordered the SEC to turn over SEC internal memos and such, that it's only fair to order Ripple to turn over its legal advice. It was an uphill battle for Jorge Tenrero. You could tell he was defensive and anxious after the judge challenged his position, but I personally believe Tenreiro did a good job staying in the fight on this one and arguing effectively that he could, regardless of what he says about me. I'm going to call it like I see it. He basically argued it would be unfair. I believe the judge will not order Ripple to turn over the documents. The fair notice defense is an objective defense. It's based on what a reasonable person or market participant would believe based on the SEC's actions and inactions. The SEC has no case law on point, just like Ripple had none with the MOUs. And so that would be the Memoranda of Understanding, and I'm not going to talk about that in this video. I've covered it pretty extensively. Anyway, and then he wraps up by stating, and just as Judge Netburn ruled with the MOUs, the fact that the practice or the privilege might be unfair to one side doesn't mean you get what you want. So, interesting perspective from both John and Jeremy. I'm so thankful that we have them, and there's some other attorneys within the XRP community that are regularly sharing their opinions. So, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely value it because I don't have this type of I don't have a legal background of any kind, so I can't come to the same conclusions that they can hearing the same information. There's no way that the layperson could possibly do that. So anyway, I'm going to keep propping them up using my platform here on YouTube because they are fantastic and they deserve all the attention in the world. Now into this last piece, which is just purely interesting. The Daily Hodl. Crypto lending platform accidentally sends users millions of dollars in Bitcoin. Wow, wow. You done messed up, son. Crypto lending firm BlockFi says it accidentally sent large amounts of Bitcoin to some of its customers. Users began reporting the mix-up last week, with one post on Reddit showing a 701 Bitcoin bonus payment worth more than $25 million at time of publishing. That is insane, guys. Can you imagine? It's like, oh, there's just a little extra $25 million in my account. Cool, I'll just take this then. The erroneous payments stem from a March trading campaign that rewards clients who reach certain trading volume targets. According to BlockFi, it intended to send Gemini dollars to clients who participated in their trading promotions, but it incorrectly transferred the amount in Bitcoin. The firm said, that's a hell of a mistake. The firm says some of its clients withdrew the Bitcoin they received, and about $10 million is outstanding. I'll tell you what, if this happened to me, first of all, it'd be like ethically wrong to take it, so I just wouldn't. Clearly, it's a mistake. Also, I'd be very concerned, like even if you didn't have the same concerns from an ethical perspective because you're just like a bad person or something. If you take it, there are still legal implications. Do you think that they're not going to come after you guns blazing? Come on, man. Anyway, but here's a quote. A small edge case of approximately 100 clients were able to access the erroneous deposits and withdraw funds from the platform on May 17th. The company's exposure is currently approximately $10 million and decreasing quickly as clients are returning funds. We are incredibly grateful for our clients understanding the mistake and returning funds that did not belong to them. Yeah, so that's really terrible of them for having taken it in the first place, but I think they realized they were going to get in some serious trouble if they didn't just give it back. As my grandpappy used to say, people are no damn good. Sage wisdom, grandpappy, sage wisdom. BlockFi says the outstanding amount is a small fraction of the reserves the company has allocated for loss. Representatives also say the crypto that was erroneously sent to them is not connected to client funds, which are safe. Well, that's good. And on a positive note. All right, I'll wrap up there. I'm not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because if anything I say are right, that would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.